Let's pull this interview up. Let's get to it.
So what happened is this: we were ready to rock and roll, and then we had the COVID thing, and we had to focus on that. And if we didn't give some businesses a hand, they would have all. You would have had a depression like in 1929. But we were ready to start. We would have very shortly been paying off debt. You know, we have $35 trillion in debt. And I'll never forget it. It was talking about from, the standpoint of being in office. I'm in the Oval Office, and I have John McLaughlin and Fabrizio. They're two very good pollsters, probably, I don't know, I would say the two best, who knows, but very good pollsters. And we're starting to think about running for a second term. And we had the greatest economy in history. Never has there been an economy like
And you
this.
attribute that to lowering taxes
a lot
and
of
tariffs.
Two things. And also I cut regulations more than anybody else. And if I asked many of the businessmen, from the big companies, the guys running the big companies, I'd say, so if you had your choice, you've had it now for a long time, what's more important to you, the tax cuts, you paid less tax, or the regulation cuts? Every one of them said the regulation cuts meant more. Who would think that, right? Because you don't equate it to dollars, but it actually is more dollars. We had it going, and then we just had to focus on something else. But they were sitting there, these two pollsters were sitting there, and they said,
Yo, shout out to Cy Z. He said, tell him about the gun line, boss. Appreciate you. Hey, man, my bad. Didn't mean to miss your super chat. Appreciate you, bro. Let's see. Ronald Hot Boy said bank account fat too. BINO, yes sir.
Sir, if George Washington came back and Abraham Lincoln was his VP, as opposed to Waltz, how bad is he, by the way? But if Abraham Lincoln was his VP, they couldn't beat you. And I'll never forget it. The following day, they said, something's happening in China, sir. Could we meet? I said, what's happening? People are dying. And it was all around the Wuhan lab, by the way. There are pictures with little lines, they're body bags, all around, because you don't equate it to dollars, but it actually is more dollars. We had it going, and then we just had to focus on something else. But they were sitting there, these two pollsters were sitting there, and they said, sir, if George was for stopping growth, the biggest tool. The other is regulation. And if you speak to Elon, he said the regulation now to send a rocket up to anywhere.
Hold on, you guys. We got to refresh this.
Anywhere, even if you do everything, it's becoming impossible. But they use environmental in order to get people not to do anything. And sometimes I say, I look at some of I know the environmental stuff better because I had to build buildings in New York. I had to do environmental impact studies. And I would see some of these guys that I'd hire for a lot of money, environmentalists that would get you through the process. And they'd be up in Albany, that's the capital of New York, and they're up there trying to make it tougher for guys like me that were builders because they'd get paid more money. In other words, I had one guy, highly recommended. I was good at getting permits. I was one of the kings of. I was always very good, but the environmental stuff was always horrible. They could slow a project down 10 years, 15 years. I had a project in Louisiana, built big LNG plant. It was for 14 years. It was going to cost $18 billion. One of the biggest, like the Empire State Building, laying down on its side times 4, massive. On the coast, on the Gulf Coast. And they said, sir, they're going to give it up. I said, they shouldn't give it up. What's the problem? They can't get their environmental. They had environmental permits that would fill this whole room up to the ceiling. And they said there was one mistake on one little line. They wanted to do it all over again. It's not going to happen. And I got them their permit instantly. And they built the plant. It's massive.
So when you're saying that So
weapon.
there's people that are making money by making it difficult.
Yeah,
Are you
they
talking
make-
about lawyers?
No, I'm
Because they're
talking
dragging
about
out
environmental
the process?
consultants and lawyers. Yeah.
Environmental consultants profit off of dragging out the process.
Absolutely.
And how do
make
they
the
profit?
process worse.
How do they profit
And I'd
off
probably do the same thing if I were them, to be honest with you.
As
you know.
bit-
Shout out to Bryant. He said, "Gonna miss you on panels. It's some of your best work. Appreciate you, bro."
$50 boss up. Stack up and match up.
Well, I mean, the thing about that, Brian, is crazy because it's kind of like Charleston White, right? Charleston White. One of the reasons why everybody loves to interview Charleston White is because they know a Charleston White interview is going to do numbers, right? What I don't understand is the way I be dropping truth bombs and saying deep, profound stuff on panels. To me, in my personal opinion, I feel like when I show up to a chat room and say, "Yo, man, can I join?" I feel like people should be like, "Hell yeah." You know what I'm saying? Like, but that's just me. You feel me? Shout out to Alan. Appreciate you.
I want to be honest with you.
How do they do that? How do they make it?
They
how
go,
do
let's say New York, they go to Albany.
Okay.
And they convince people that if you have a certain type of plant on the ground that's this big and in theory valueless, that it's a rare plant and you cannot ever even touch it. You can't go near it. You can't put a building on it. You can't do anything. Or there's a little puddle and they call it a lake. And you have to go by the standards of a lake. I said, no, that's a puddle. Oh, you have no idea. Guys are filling little puddles. You have no idea what they do.
And
It's
so,
hard.
but-
and they use it as a way to stop you.
They use it as a way to stop you, and also as a way to generate money. I'm curious how are they generating money that way, though?
Well, they get fees,
They get fees,
massive fees.
and
you pay these guys.
people rely on them as experts because they're the people that they go to when they have to run these studies in the first place.
But some of them are just bad guys, and they're trying to make it more and more difficult.
And they have a lot of power.
I think they maybe had more. They didn't have as much with me because I would get through them, and I understood it. Look, I've done so many they call it environmental impact study. I did so much to build a building. To build a building in New York is very tough. You got to deal with. Think of it.
Now, what Donald Trump is talking about right now is one of the things he was good at as president, right? Is he got rid of a lot of red tape or regulations, right? What a lot of people don't realize is when you want to start a business, right? Or you want to try to get something built, or you want to try, you will be amazed at some of the goofy regulations they have, zoning laws, all of these goofy things. You feel what I'm saying? Like I remember this was the first time I had to deal with any bureaucracy, right? So, me and all of us, we used to like sell the mix CDs, like the mix CDs, where people would make, the little underground mix CDs or whatever, right? My cousin had went downtown and got a freaking peddler's license, right? And he said, "Yo, man, you need to go get your peddler's license, right?" And I was like, "Well, how much is it?" He told me how much it was. I was like, "Okay, screw it. I go get it or whatever, right?" I have literally watched as I'm standing out there I'm out on the street with mixed CDs that I'm selling, right? I'm standing out there. Police pull up. What y'all doing? Selling mixed CDs. You got a permit? Yeah. I literally stood there as the police looked at my permit, left me alone, and then arrested somebody because they didn't have a permit for selling mixed CDs. You feel what I'm saying? Because mixed CDs are technically not copywritten material. You feel what I'm saying? But it's stuff like that. Like it's goofy stuff. Like, and the bigger whatever you're doing is, the more regulation. Because whenever you're trying to do something, there's always going to be a bunch of people with their hands out. There's always going to be a bunch of people standing there waiting to get paid for whatever. You feel me?
Financing, unions, all the municipal stuff, environmental. Of all of it, to me, the toughest thing was the environmental, because they could stop you cold with the environmental impact study stuff. And you hire a so-called expert. They say, sir, he's the one guy, he can get you through the morass. It's a morass. It's horrible. They use it as a weapon. They use it all over the country.
Right, but there are legitimate concerns about environmental impact, correct? Like, look about the BP oil spill. There's a lot of things that do happen that are environmentally devastating.
Sure, yeah.
And you want to mitigate that as much as possible.
You do. Look, I had, during our 4 years, we had the cleanest air and the cleanest water. I view it differently. I say air and water. Remember this, it costs much more to do things environmentally clean. China doesn't do anything.
Right.
When Kerry goes to see President Xi of China, which he probably doesn't even get to see him, but they look at him, oh, yes, yes, we will do, oh, yes, yes, we're going to do that, no more coal, just, and then they approve 58 coal plants for the next, they build a coal plant a week, okay?
They build a lot of coal plants.
But let me just tell you, though, so here we are cleaning and scrubbing everything, and everything's got, and the air's got to be pure, but in 3.8 days, that stuff floating over China is right over the top of us.
Right.
Same thing with the oceans. They dump their garbage into the Pacific Ocean. If you take a little cork and put it there, in about a week and a half, it'll be in front of Los Angeles. We're picking up their garbage. So nobody ever talks about that. But in a way, the bigger one is even the air. It's the currents. It's an amazing thing. It's been...
So basically, we're getting blamed for what another country is doing when it comes to the air, when it comes to the water, when it comes to the environment and all of these different things. That's crazy.
Flowing that way for 1 million years, or long before
we share air with
we
the whole
there.
world. Yeah.
No, if we're
we get
cleaning,
the Sahara dust clouds over here.
Absolutely.
We get dust clouds in Austin from the Sahara Desert.
But we get the China, they call it the China curse. We get the China curse. They're bad, and their air is dirty. When I went there, I had a great relationship with President Xi. We got along very well. And they treated me better than anybody's ever been treated. Same thing with Saudi Arabia, a number of them. But they laid it out. And I said, this air is good. Do you know they closed every factory 1 week before I got there from within 200 miles?
That's like what Gavin Newsom did when Xi Jinping came to San Francisco.
He cleaned it up.
He cleaned it up. He got rid of all the homeless people.
Isn't that terrible in a way? To think, he cleaned it up and then it became a pigsty.
Well, the dumbest thing is he said when your friends come by, when you have visitors, you clean up your house. Like, how about just keep your fucking house clean? It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard anybody say ever as a governor as to...
Yo. He said, how about you just keep your fucking house clean?
To why you finally cleaned up your homeless problem.
And the day he left...
Right back to it.
It went right back.
Yeah.
But in a way, that was a bad thing that he did, because he showed... What a disgrace that was. What a disgrace.
Well, this is the thing that shows you how foolish a lot of these people that are running these cities think, and a lot of these people that are running these states think. It's foolish. You're insulting the intelligence of the people that live in that city that are impacted by these people just camping and needles and human feces. There's an app that you can buy. There's an app that you can get, that will show you where the human feces has been documented in San Francisco. It's a poo app. And
what the hell? Bro. Time out. I gotta speak to you. Look, I'm about to get on my Dr. Umar. I gotta speak to your family. I gotta talk to your family, to my people out there in Cali. What y'all got going on, man? What y'all got going on, man? Do something different, said AM. You didn't know? No. I did not know that. I did not know that. So in California, you literally got people copping a squat in public. You got people bending fresh biscuits on the sidewalk. Are you serious? I'm so glad. Look, let me just talk about this for a second, man. I am so glad that I live in a nice part of Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm so freaking glad. You know what I did today? Y'all? Y'all might judge me for this. But I feel like I need to confess. Do y'all like press 1 if y'all promise not to judge me too harshly? Press 1 if y'all promise not to judge me too harshly. I need some confirmation because I don't want y'all making me feel bad, right? So I did something today that I hadn't done in years. I went to Walmart. And I hadn't been there in years. Right? And you know what I found out when I went into Walmart today? I found out that I have become a bougie ass Negro. That's right. I have become an elitist, bougie ass Negro. Now I'm gonna tell you why I feel this way, right? I walk into Walmart, right? And by the way, if any of you dudes have a taste for ratchet women, all you gotta do is go to Walmart. There's a cornucopia of ratchet big booty women at Walmart. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's happening. Matter of fact, yes, I do. The food is the food they sell at Walmart. It's got hormones in it, all of that crap, right? So, first of all, I'm parking the vet at Walmart. So already I got people looking at me like I'm crazy, right? So I get out. I go into Walmart, right? I walk into Walmart and I look around and the first thing that popped up in my head, why does it look dirty in here? That was the first thing that popped up in my head. Like, I'm talking about the floors. It just looked dirty. Like, I'm telling you right now, something has got to be done. This is the main reason why we need Trump in office. Something has got to be done. Our country is turning into a third world country. I'm not even joking. Our country is turning into a third world country. I did not realize that it's folks out here that I realized folks were struggling, but I didn't know it was this bad, right? I go in there, I look around, I'm like, why is it dirty in here? So I'm walking around, I'm trying to go to the, they slipped a new Dragon Ball fighting game in on me, right? I said, let me go to Walmart and see if they got this game, right? Because I just happen to be right there next to a Walmart. So I go in there, I'm looking around, I'm like, it's dirty in here. You feel what I'm saying? Like, why does it look dirty in here? And so as I'm walking through there, right? Every person that passed by me, their clothes had a smell. You ever go into Goodwill or Salvation Army? You know how the clothes smell in there? That's what it smelled like. And I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not joking. I'm dead serious. Yeah, DBZ Sparkling Zero. I didn't even know about the game. I didn't even know about the game. How they slipped that past me, I have no idea, right? So I go in there and I'm like, why is it like, and I say, you know what? Let me get up out of here because I know I had this face. And I didn't want to be insulting to anybody, but I was walking around with the like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I said, bro, I got to get up out of here. You feel me? But like I said, it's the smell of failure and desperation. Bro, look. I got up out of there so fast, man. I said, I will not be doing that again. And I told my wife, I said, yo, I have become a bougie ass Negro. You feel me? Like, there's no way around it. I've become bougie. I have become bougie. Because I have not, look, in years, I have not set foot in a Walmart, because I usually go to Target, right? If I go to one of those stores, I'll go to Target, right? Target always is clean. You feel what I'm saying? And the people in there, their clothes don't smell like Goodwill. You feel me? But I don't really go into fast food restaurants anymore. Like I don't go into those. The other day I just happened to go into a Bojangles, right? Because usually I don't go into those places anymore. Like I usually have like groceries. I'll have the groceries. I'll have Instacart bring the groceries, or usually most of the stuff I get now I get delivered. So I don't really go in those places anymore. You feel me? If I go to a grocery store, I'll go to Publix. Publix is always nice. But bruh, it's getting bad out here. It's getting bad out here, bruh. It's getting bad. This country of ours is slowly turning into a third world country, man. I can see it. I don't know if y'all can see it. Yo, press 1 if y'all can see it. If y'all agree, press 1 if y'all can see it. I see it. I see it. We gotta get these Democrats out of office, man. This country is slowly becoming a third world country, man.
And it's just everywhere. It's just bum crap everywhere.
But let me give you one that you may not know.
Okay.
Which I think you know everything, actually, as
That's
a student of yours. but water, in Los Angeles you can't get proper amounts of water.
Right.
And it's unbelievably expensive. And you might have a house in Beverly Hills, and they're actually thinking about rationing water. Can you believe it?
I can believe it.
I was in the farm court country with some of the congressmen. We're driving up a highway, and I say, how come all this land is so barren?
Shout out to Bootzilla. He said Walmart always seems like the store that gets the leftovers after all the other stores got the best price. Yeah. You know what's crazy about that, Bootzilla? You can go in a Walmart, right? And you could go in there and you could see an air fryer, right? And the air fryer could be made by, let's say GE, let's say General Electric, just for argument's sake. You could go into a Walmart and you could see a General Electric air fryer, right? You could take a snapshot of it, right? Take a picture of it, get in your car and go to Target. And Target will have a General Electric air fryer, but it's a different air fryer. Has anyone else noticed this? It's like the companies, Walmart will get the cheap product from that company and Target will get the product that's just a little bit better than the one that's in Walmart. It's crazy. It's crazy.
It's farmland, and it looked terrible. It was just brown and bad. I said, but there's always that little corner that's so green and beautiful. They said, we have no water. I said, do you have a drought? No, we don't have a drought. I said, why do you have no water? Because the water isn't allowed to flow down. It's got a natural flow from Canada all the way up north. Water, more water than they could ever use. And in order to protect a tiny little fish, the water up north gets routed into the Pacific Ocean. Millions and millions of gallons of water gets poured. You got to see this. We're driving up, and I had never seen it before. It's like Iowa. It's the most fertile land. Iowa's blessed with great land. Idaho for a potato, right?
Yeah.
But they're just, by the way, some land is good for a potato, some land is good for corn. It's the craziest thing. I love the farmers. They're great. They're the greatest. And by the way, they're getting killed right now.
They are.
They're getting killed because of this stupid administration. But so I see this, and I said, you got to be kidding. I said, you mean you have water? And I looked at it. It's like a valve in your sink, except it's massive. The thing's 5 times taller than your ceiling.
Did you know the center of California was a giant lake?
They have so much water.
You ever see what it looked like before
No,
they rerouted
I never
it?
saw that,
The
no.
center of California, what was it, 200 years ago? How long ago did they do that, Jamie? The center of California had a fucking enormous lake in the middle of
So
California.
they dumped it into the Pacific.
Who knows what they did? But with whatever foolishness that they did led to the situation that they're in now.
Think of those dry forests that burned down all over. The head of Austria said,
Here it is, Tulare Lake or Tachi Lake. It's a freshwater lake in the southern San Joaquin Valley, United States. Historically, Tulare Lake was one of the largest freshwater lakes west of the Mississippi. Show a photo of what it looked like back then.
That's a great system.
So that's what it looked like. Look at that image. Now, go to the one on the third from the right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was an
wow.
enormous
What a
lake
beautiful
in the
thing.
middle of California. Imagine that.
That'd be much more valuable property.
How crazy is that?
Oh,
But how
wow.
crazy is
So
that's
what
what it
did
used
they
to look
do?
like? And human beings screwed that
No,
up.
they let it go into the Pacific, and then they...
I don't.
And see, the crazy thing about this is it's people doing things to cut off something so that they can. It's like you got something here that people can benefit from. So it's like, you know what? Let's limit this so that we can make money off of it. You feel me? Now, look, there's a lot of people that have so much to say about capitalism. I don't have a problem with capitalism if it's honest capitalism, right? If it's honest capitalism. My problem with the corruption of capitalism is when they do stuff like that. That's not right. You feel what I'm saying? That is the goofy thing. It's like if I know there's a fresh water source, but I'm going to hide it from everybody so that I could sell everybody bottled water. I don't like that type of capitalism. You feel what I'm saying? I don't like that type of capitalism. To me, that's foul. You feel what I'm saying?
I don't know what they did. What did they do? How did it go
Wow.
missing?
They said they drained it in 83.
Yeah, they drained it.
1983. Oh my God.
It went dry a handful of times.
Oh, it went dry a handful of times. Well, lakes do go dry, but that's a big one.
But think of
It's a
it,
big one to go
you
dry.
could have all of the water you need. All of that land would have more water. The whole thing could be like that little patch.
Yeah.
Literally, I'd say I was with Devin Nunes, a congressman, and other congressmen. We were going up. I was visiting that because they asked me to go up and visit their territory, and I did. But I kept saying, look at this land. It's beautiful, but it's so dry. And I thought they were going through like a desert, like a drought. They said, no, we have water, but it gets... So I looked into it.
What is the fish?
And I got it done. I could have water for all of that land, water for your forests. Your forests are dry as a bone.
Yeah.
Okay?
Dangerous.
That water could be routed. You could have everything. Oh, not only dangerous, billions of dollars a year they spend on forest fires. And, there's a case with the environment. They're not allowed to rake their forests because you're not allowed to touch it. When a tree falls down, after 18 months, it becomes very dry. It's like, like real firewood. It's bad. You know, a tree that's up, these are all things I learned the hard way, the easy way. But when a tree is up, it sucks water, it's wet. I went to they had a couple of horrible forest fires in California, and I said, you know, you got a lot of trees standing. Yes, they were healthy trees, sir. I said, with this intense heat, that you could see they were charred a little bit on the bottom, but they were going to be all right because they're soaking wet because they suck up the water, right? But when they fall,
Right.
they're like, you know, it's like lighting a match.
Yeah.
And you got to be able to clean. They call it maintain your forest. So I was
Yeah.
with the head of Austria. He said, you know, it's a shame. I see all those forest fires in California, and all they have to do is clean their forest, meaning rake it up, get rid of the leaves, get rid of, you know, leaves that are sitting there for 5 years. And
We'll
they're,
certainly
you know,
get rid of the dead fall.
and get rid of the trees that are fallen and
Yeah.
that, you know, are like, so many things this country. By the way,
Could you
I
really
had it
rake the
all
whole
done.
forest, though? I don't think you could rake the whole forest.
you could-
I think you can get rid of the deadfall, but raking all
you
the
could
leaves.
certainly get rid of the dead. Okay,
Yeah, I think that's the real issue
You know,
is the deadfall.
environmentally, they don't want to do that. They don't. They said, you know, it's got to be nature and all this stuff. But in the meantime, this is exactly.
Yeah.
Right. But you could have so. It was the Department of Commerce that needed the approvals, but Gavin Newsom had to sign them. I got it all done. Nobody could believe it. It was all done. I said, I got it. You got so much water. All you have to do is sign. And that guy didn't want to sign.
Did he not want to sign because that would be a political victory for you?
I think no, he didn't. No, I don't think so. He used to say he's a great president and we got along. We did. We actually.
You know who Donald Trump is? How many of you guys remember The Wire? You remember when the white dude won to become mayor? His name was Carcetti. Y'all remember that? Remember when he went to as the mayor, he went to this one spot and went in there and he said, hey man, there's a pothole that I just ran over and it needs to be filled now. And he walked out. And the guy was like, Mr. Mayor, what street? What street? And so they had to go and they're running around filling all the potholes. Then he went somewhere else and he said, hey man, there's a freaking, there's a dangerous piece of equipment on this playground and I need it fixed now. And he bounced. He's like, which one? Like, he literally had them working nonstop to clean up certain parts of Baltimore simply because he put a fire under their ass. That's Donald Trump. That is Donald Trump in a nutshell. You feel what I'm saying? Like, because here's the problem. And oh my God, if he gets, let me tell you something. Let's be real, right? If he gets in the office and he gives Elon Musk that position to audit the United States government. Do y'all know what he did with Twitter? How many of you know what Elon did with Twitter? Do any of you know what he did with Twitter? He cut costs. Look, right there. Shout out to Cornelius. He cut costs by 80% and it works better. That's facts. That is facts. Trim the fat, exactly. Trim the fat, exactly. If he, oh my God, if oh my God, bruh.
We got along at that point. But I think somebody said you just can't continue to call him a great president. You know, they do say that. But we had it all done. He didn't sign, and then we got on to other things. And I every time I go to California, I said, you have so much water. They don't know it. I'm telling you, people living in Beverly Hills, they turn off the water. Same thing with the electric. They want to go to all electric cars, but they have brownouts every weekend, you know.
Well, right after they made the announcement that as of 2035, you're not going to be able to buy an internal combustion engine in California,
Yeah.
like within a month, they had some announcement asking people to not charge their Teslas. Because the grid couldn't handle it. Well, how are you going to handle it?
I will terminate the mandate immediately. Just a
Good,
mandate.
thank you.
That will be done, I would say, in my first day, maybe 2 days, because, you know. It's
Let me
a
ask you
little
about
busy.
nuclear. One of the things that when I've talked to people that have a real understanding of nuclear power, what their position is, it's probably the cleanest, safest form of electricity that we could generate, and that the fears of nuclear power are really about a few disasters: the Fukushima, 3 Mile Island. These are old systems, and that they're much more capable now, and they're capable of making even better systems. But it's a difficult political issue because you think nuclear power, you think Chernobyl. That's what everybody does. They have this connection. They have the potential
Or Fukushima,
disaster.
which
Or
is
Fukushima.
where you're not supposed to enter the land for 3,000 years or something. And
It's
crazy.
I think it's worse than that. I think that area is like going to be radioactive for probably longer than you could imagine. But the point is they're better at it now.
Right.
And that they could do it now, and you can generate power in a way that you don't have to worry about these. One of the most ridiculous things is electric cars being powered by coal-fired plants. It's a ridiculous thing.
That's what's happening.
Yeah, that is what's happening.
what's happening.
And people want to think they're being green, but it's...
Well, you look at the way the battery is made, but here's the other thing. We
Right.
don't have, well, we do actually. It's being held. We have certain areas where we have great raw earth material, and we're not allowed to use it because of the environment. And we have areas in California that have incredible raw earth, and they're not allowing, and I'm going to open it up. I'm going to let them use it.
But how do you do that?
China-
How do you do that and protect the environment?
Because the environment's going to be protected. You can do it. You can make a lake out of it. Okay, we'll put back a lake. I mean, something nice about lakes. You can do things magnificently.
you just have to do
know,
it
yeah,
carefully
but
and
you have to do it-
responsibly.
absolutely, you have to do it carefully. But the problem, China has all of those areas, most of those areas.
You know what? I'm going to tell you something right now. The reason why countries like China, Japan, all of these places are outdoing us as far as innovation and all of this stuff, it's because in this country, we got a bunch of tree-hugging hippies that they think everything is somehow gonna mess up the environment, which really, in my opinion, it's a hustle. You feel me? Like, I don't know if y'all saw the show Billions, but Billions, the one dude that was an attorney general or whatever, right? He was living at this one house he had, and he had a neighbor that used to fire off cannons or whatever, right? And so in order to stop him from firing off those cannons, he had some guy go to a stream behind that guy's house and put some frogs in there that were endangered species, and then he was able to use the Environmental Protection Act to stop him from doing that. That's what's going on. That's what's going on. They're taking this plant right here or this animal right here. It's like, bruh. Meanwhile, oh my God, let me tell you something. If they spent as much time figuring out how to solve the homeless issue as they do trying to protect plants and animals and stuff, you wouldn't have any homeless people. You wouldn't have any homeless people. Like, we've gotten to the point where we care more about animals than we do people. You feel me? And I'm not saying you shouldn't care about animals. You should make sure that, you're not messing up every single environment that animals have to live in. But damn, bro, what about the people?
And yet, when they say go electric with the cars, China is going to be the one that gives us the cars. All of those guys in Detroit are going to be out of business. You're going to make your electric cars over there. We have a thing called gasoline, and we have more oil and gas under our feet than any other nation. I had, in Alaska, there's a find. It's called Anwar. I got it approved. Reagan couldn't get it. Nobody could get it. I got it all done. It was amazing. They were getting ready to start drilling. The equivalent, they think, of Saudi Arabia, one of the biggest finds in the world. It was all set to go. And Biden comes in, one of his first orders were, we're not going to use it. It would have been so good we could have supplied all of Asia with oil and gas.
What was the negative?
And you talk
of it?
about money.
Right.
The negative was politically they didn't think it was good for them. That's all.
That's all it was. So you don't think that it's environmentally dangerous?
Taking it from way down deep in the earth, environmentally would have been fine.
So it can be done responsibly.
Absolutely.
Oh, otherwise, the point where it
let's
protects
not
the
do it.
environment.
Well, I think windmills. Okay, so they talk about
That's a good
windmills.
point.
I think windmills are really disruptive. When you talk about the environment, they kill the birds. You want to see a bird cemetery? Go under a windmill someday that hasn't been cleaned out with all the bird carcasses. It's like massive amounts of
Well, they're
birds.
also a massive eyesore. I went to
they're
a ranch in
horrible.
South Texas. We had to drive past this enormous windmill farm, and it's gross. It's dystopian. You're looking in the left and the right, and all you see is these big spinning machines that aren't even that effective at generating electricity.
Correct. Most expensive form of electricity is a windmill, and then they start to rust and rot.
And you have to
And then they
replace
get
them.
abandoned by the people that built them. Because
Well, you have to get rid of all that material too. When you replace those blades, now you have a problem because you have
Can't
to
bury 'em.
dispose. Right, you have to dispose these enormous windmills. And how
By
do
the
you
way, they
dispose
say
of
you
them?
can't bury them. So I even question that, but I'm not going to get into it. But they say you can't bury the blades. So you have the blades, and you can't bury the blades. You can bury the blades. It's not going to matter. You can bury. You'll find areas you can bury. But they come up. This is what I mean. They come up with this. But the environmentalist dream is windmills. Everyone. You know what happens to them? After 5 years, they start to rot. After 10 years, you have to replace them. Did you ever look at certain parts of California where they have heavy windmills and they've been abandoned? And they're all different manufacturers and all different companies, and they all.
I haven't seen that.
It is the ugliest thing. It looks like a graveyard almost, a graveyard of windmills.
It's pollution.
It's so bad.
It's
And in
no
the
more,
oceans.
It's no different than leaving garbage on the ground.
How about in New Jersey, off the coast of New Jersey, they want to build. The people are going crazy not to build them, but where you have them, the whales are washing up on shore.
Right.
So in 50 years, they had one whale come ashore. Now they had like 18 come in the last year.
What is happening with the whales? I've read about this.
Well, they say that the wind drives them crazy. You know, it's a vibration because you have those. You know,
Right.
those things are 50-story buildings. Some of them.
Right, and they're
50.
super sensitive to vibrations
They have
and
those.
sounds.
You know, the wind is rushing. The things are blowing. It's a vibration, and it makes noise. You know what it is? I want to be a whale psychiatrist. It drives the whales freaking crazy, and
Yes.
something happens with them. But for whatever reason, they're getting washed up on shore, and you know, and yet the environment
Conveniently ignored by the
yeah, but the
environmental people.
environment.
Now, let me say this, right? Let me say this. There are two creatures in the sea that, in my opinion, if you screw with those creatures, you are the scum of the universe. I don't care what nobody says. Out of all, and I'm an animal person. I like animals. You know what I'm saying? I'm not one of these people that you know. I would never be a person that just hunts animals for sport. I think that's jacked up. Now I'm not gonna be all. I'm not gonna join PETA. I'm not gonna be on this. Oh my God, you have a fur coat. Like I'm not tripping that hard, but. It's certain animals, if you screw with them, it's just like, bruh, because like I'm a dude, I'll be driving down the street. If a squirrel runs across the street, I will slow down so that the squirrel can keep going. I'm not going to run over a squirrel. You feel what I'm saying? Even though I believe squirrels are diabolical as fuck. I think they're like always plotting on humans and stuff. But they small, they little woodland creatures. I'm not tripping, right? But the two animals in the sea, if you screw with these two animals, you are just the scum of the earth. That is whales and dolphins. Anybody that does messed up things to whales or dolphins, I honestly believe that there is a special place in hell for you. You feel me? Now, the reason why I say this is because if you know anything about dolphins, that my thing, you know, the same way I'm a history buff, I love looking at documentaries about history. I love Animal Planet. I love looking up documentaries about animals and stuff like that. It is quite possible that whales and dolphins are more intelligent than us. Like, real talk. I'm not even joking. It is a strong possibility that whales and dolphins are more intelligent than human beings. I don't care what anybody says. You feel what I'm saying? And like, to mess with those creatures, to me, is just it's just horrible. You feel what I'm saying? Do you know, if you were in the water, like if you fell in the water, right? If you was out in the ocean and you fell in the water, right? And if a shark was coming to try to attack you, if there were any dolphins in the vicinity, they would actually protect you. They would actually run the shark away. You feel me? Would actually run them away. It's crazy.
Environmentalists, they don't talk about it.
Right.
I think there's nothing uglier. I see it in Scotland. I see it all.
Could y'all imagine me doing an interview with Joe Rogan? Bro, the amount of shit we would talk about. The amount of stuff we would talk about if I had the opportunity to sit down and talk with Joe Rogan. You feel me? Like, back in the day, everybody wanted to sit down with Johnny Carson, you know, or Larry King. Bruh, if I could have a conversation with Joe Rogan, it would be freaking awesome.
All over the world, you have this beautiful valley. It's been there for, in civilization, thousands of years, but millions of years. And all of a sudden you have these ugly windmills up.
Would your
And the
plan to be
environment-
replace that with nuclear? What would you do?
Well, nuclear is better. I mean, I think there's a little danger in nuclear, but, we had some really bad nuclear. They did one in Alabama. They did one in, I think, South Carolina. They do them wrong. They build these massive things. Then the environmentalists get in. I don't want to go into a long story because it's too long for the show. This show is too valuable to talk about concrete. But they have hardened concrete. It's number 12 concrete. It's harder than steel. It's incredible. They put up a wall, and an inspector comes along and goes, nope, you're a quarter of an inch the wall might be 8 feet wide. You're a quarter of an inch too short. I'm sorry, you got to rip down the wall. Because it's got to be poured contiguously, right? You're 1/4 of an inch. I'm sorry, rip down. You can't rip it down. This stuff, you can't put a hammer through it. You can't. It's incredible. Concrete technology is unbelievable. What's happened? You think of concrete.
So you think that's an example of overregulation?
Yeah,
Pointless
Well,
overregulation.
you have an inspector that comes along and he says, take down a $25 zillion wall. These things ended up costing $25 billion. And one of them never got opened. But here's the story. So France does it. France is largely nuclear, and they build small, little, compact plants. And if they need more, they build the same thing, and they hook it up, because they get too big and too complex and too expensive. And it is very clean. They say it's absolute. My uncle, I had a great uncle who was a great genius, just like other members of my family. But he was a professor at MIT for, I think, 41 years. He was the longest. When I was in the White House, the head of MIT, Princeton, and Harvard came down to meet me. And the MIT person said, I have a book on your uncle, Dr. John Trump. He was our longest serving professor. He was a great genius, sir. Do you know how? And he knew everything about nuclear, from math to chemistry to nuclear. He knew it. And he said,
when have you ever, let me ask you guys this question. When have you ever heard a president that was this knowledgeable about all of this? Like, when? Name for me one president. Just one. Name for me one president. One. And keep in mind, he's 78 years old. He's 78 years old.
that someday it's going to be the way to go, but the problem is it's so dangerous in terms of war. He said,
Right.
Donald, someday, and this was a long time, Uncle John, Dr. John Trump, he said, someday you'll have a little satchel at your side, and you'll go into a building and you'll be able to blow up New York City. I said, Uncle John, that'll never happen. He's right. He's right.
Well, that was
the
part
power
of the
is so
problem
crazy.
with giving nuclear power to other countries, right? Like that was the problem that happened with India and Pakistan. They got nuclear power, and then they were able to weaponize it.
The biggest problem in the world today is not global warming. It's nuclear warming. And we have idiots that are negotiating for us. We have a guy that doesn't make it past 4 o'clock. And it's not because of age. They ought to. I know so many guys in their late 80s, and they're better than I said to one guy the other day, I think you're smarter than you were 25 years ago. I've known him a long time. He's 89 years old. He's sharp. He's great. Biden gives people a bad name because that's not an age. I think they say it because I'm 3 or 4 years younger. I think that's why they say it. They say his age. It's not his age. He's got a problem.
2 major brain
Operations.
surgeries.
Yeah, he did. Those are not good operations.
And did you see what he did today? He went running towards the camera and made some apology to Native Americans, and that he said that's why he's headed out west. Like he's off the reservation, so to speak, for lack of a better term.
It's interesting because during the debate, I was looking over. I'm saying, this is strange. It's just sort of like strange things were happening.
Yeah.
But
he couldn't keep it together. But do you think they knew he couldn't keep it together?
I think
Do you think that they wanted that? Is that why, like historically, that debate was earlier than they've been in the past, right?
I think they wanted to get. Well, there's a lot of theories. A lot of people said, do the debate now and we'll get him out.
Right.
I think that maybe could be.
Well, that is what happened.
But that's
so
what happened.
It's logical.
I think they
to
also
assume
said,
that's
do
what they
the
want.
debate now and get it over with.
Right.
I don't think anybody thought he was going to get out. Really, I don't.
Didn't
think
make any sense.
The debate got him out, but I think it's very unfair. Look, you have a bad debate. His numbers went down, but I think she's not doing very well right now, and I think she looks.
Well, I want to get to that too because it's hard to know. Like the whole poll thing is very bizarre for most people because most people don't answer polls. So they read the polls. And
Were
like,
you
who's
ever
getting
called
polled? I've
from
never
a
been
poll?
polled.
I was
If I
never
did, I'd
called-
hang up.
I was never called by a poll system.
If I did, I wouldn't answer. I'm busy.
You know
Right?
how polls are done? I'm going to get myself
Please.
in trouble. But so I really don't believe too much in them. So
Well, 2016 taught a lot of people about the ineffective.
well, they were very
use of polls.
ineffective because
Yeah.
I thought I was doing well. I'd go to a place and I'd have 30, 40,000 people. Hillary would go, they have 500 people, and they tell me I'm going to lose. I said, why am I going to lose? I had 40,000 people. She had 200 people. But, I have a theory. These pollsters, they charge you a lot of money, too. They charge you $500,000 to do some stupid poll, and they interview like 251 people. I don't think they interview them in many cases. I don't want to get myself in too much trouble.
think it's
because-
Yo, 251 is such a random number. That's how you know he telling the truth. He said they interview 251 people. Like, it's such a random number.
Bullshit.
No, I think they sit there, they make a deal, they get $500,000, and they say, Trump's leading 51-49. They announce it, and everybody says, oh. Do you understand?
Yeah.
I don't think they. I think in a lot. Look, I'm a very common sense person. I think that they probably don't always poll. Some of them probably never poll. What's the difference between 49-51 and 47.5?
Well, it's also a tight.
And this is what annoys me about this, right? And I don't know if you guys have noticed this. Have you guys noticed this? Every week that passes, they say the polls change. Oh, we got new polling numbers. But the ratio is always the same. Has anybody else noticed this? Has anybody else noticed this? Like, they'll say, oh, this is a close race. It's been a close race. They've been talking like the numbers have been fluctuating this whole time, but the whole time they've been saying it's a close race. Like, and I'm going to tell you the truth, man. This is what annoys me about all of this. What annoys me about all of this is I get, and look, I'm not one of these guys that like to come with all of these conspiracy theories and all of this stuff. Like I'm not one of those guys, right? I've heard all of the theories, you know, but I get a real distinct impression that it's like a play, you know, like a play, like, you know, like The Telltale Heart, or you know, a Broadway musical. Like it's like a play, because there's certain things that go on. I'm like, why are they even allowing that? Like, why is anybody, like, okay, why is anybody even allowing that? Like for instance, I was watching earlier I was watching Dan Bongino, right? And he said that the little baggie of cocaine that they found in the White House, they claim, he said, you know, because he used to be Secret Service, he said they got a partial DNA match. So they know who it belongs to. And it's in evidence. It's in FBI evidence. And he said that they have to keep it for 7 years. So it's like, okay, when Trump comes in office, are they going to prosecute whoever that belongs to? I'm sitting here like, in my mind, I'm sitting here like, okay, so just nobody's going to do anything about that? Like, no. So you got a partial DNA match, so you know who it belongs to, and nobody got in trouble? There's nothing anybody can do? Like, that's the thing that worries me more than anything in this world. Not that specific thing, but a series of things that occur. And it's just like, it just gets swept under the rug. Like, you can't do anything about it? Like, nobody can do anything about it? Not a single soul? He said regular folk would be in jail. Exactly. And that's what's problematic about it.
Tiny percentage of the population. I don't think it's representative of the overall population. I just don't think
I don't
it
know
is.
of one person in my whole life that ever got called by a pollster.
Exactly. That's my point. So here's my question.
But I shouldn't say that because I'm doing really well in the polls.
But I think that's
So this week I happen to believe in a verse. I only believe them if they're good. No, I like them this month. But no, I honestly believe that there's probably a lot of fraud. I had a poll, Washington Post, ABC, in the Hillary thing on Wisconsin. They had me down 17 points the day before the election. I knew it was wrong because I had a rally. I had 29,000 people at a racetrack, and it was like 0 degrees, Wisconsin. And they had me down 17 points. In other words, you had no chance. And
he said he had 29,000 people at a rally that was a racetrack. And it was in Wisconsin. How does he remember all of this shit? Do you feel me? Like, most people wouldn't pay any attention to that. Most people wouldn't pay any attention to that. How does he remember? That's why when Kamala and them start saying, oh, we need to worry about Donald Trump's mental health. No, you don't. No, you don't. Like, let's just be real.
And I won. And I called up my pollster, who's a good guy, good guy. And I believe he's legitimate. And, and some of them are, and some of them aren't. I said, tell me, why did they have me down so much? I mean, nobody's going to believe them the next time. They said they don't care. When you're down 17 points, people are going to stay home. They're not going to vote.
Right.
Because they're going to say, I love Trump, but I'm not going to waste my time. It's cold out. I said, but what do they make at 4 or 5? He said, at 4 or 5, they're going to go and vote. At 17, they're not going to go and vote. So think of it. I was 7. This is the Washington Post ABC poll. I was down 17 points in Wisconsin, and I won. it's crooked stuff.
There's a lot of crooked stuff, and I wanted to talk about that too, because one of the things that people talk about with you is the denial of the results. And I think J.D. Vance did a brilliant job the other day when he was being interviewed.
Okay, we're not going to go into that. We're not going to go into that. Oh, my God. I'm sorry, y'all. We keep getting to the three-hour mark because I'm running my mouth about other stuff. You feel me? This is what I'm gonna do. To my man Tall, and anybody else, don't wait for me. Just watch the rest of the interview. I'm gonna watch the rest of the interview, and we're going to talk about the rest of it tomorrow. We're not going to review it. We're going to talk about the rest of it tomorrow because there's a lot. There's a lot to unpack in that. And then there's some other stuff we got to talk about tomorrow. We got to talk about Kamala. Her past few rallies, she's been getting booed. She's been getting booed. The rally she had where she brought out Michelle Obama, right? They were booing her so bad. She had something, a folder or something. She closed it up and just stood up there. It kind of reminded me of when you have a assembly in school and the principal's up there and the kids don't want to stop talking and he's just standing there just. I can wait as long as you. Like it reminded me of that. It reminded me of that. You feel me? Like like she's getting booed, but we're supposed to believe this, right? We're supposed to believe this. On the one hand, you got Donald Trump, who let's be frank, he's always been a rock star. Period. He doesn't have to have a multi-platinum musician or a movie star. He don't have to have none of them people come out to his rallies. He's the star of his rally. So he'll have a rally. I don't know if y'all saw the Madison Square Garden rally today. There were people lined up outside. And this is supposed to be a blue state. New York is supposed to be a blue state. But you've got people lined up outside of, I'm telling you right now, there's something fishy about the Democrats. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. There's something fishy, bro, because it's not making sense to me. How is it a close race when you look every single time Donald Trump does a freaking rally, you got this ridiculous crowd. Kamala goes out and does a rally and she's getting booed. You feel me? She's getting booed. You're a political candidate and you're literally getting booed. And look, matter of fact, hold on. Let me pull it up for you.
We are fighting for America's future. And we understand the opportunity we have before us to turn the page.
Now, sometimes people will try to say, oh, that's fake. They changed the audio. You know they didn't change the audio because she was talking in a regular tone. When the guy started yelling, she started trying to talk louder over him. And then it gets to the point where she just stops talking. And she's looking back at, I guess, her team or whatever. And you could tell she's frustrated, but she's trying to keep it together.
We are fighting for America's future. And we understand the opportunity we have before us to turn the page on the fear.
Did you see that? That's okay. I don't want to do this. Here we go. That's the closing of the book, and then the. How many times are they doing this to you? What? No quick little quips, no comebacks, no, oh, I think you need to go to the smaller rally down the street. What happened? What happened? What happened? And by the way, if you're just coming in here, hit the Cash App and support the show. We need 10 people to hit the Cash App and support the show.
We are fighting for America's future, and we understand the opportunity we have before us to turn the page on the fear.
Let me tell you something. When a political candidate gets booed like that, there is no way on God's green earth that that political candidate should be able to win anything. I mean, look, remember the guy that was like, yeah! That's all it took. That's all it took for his campaign to be over. Pure. Like that's all it took. Dukakis, all it took was for him to be in a freaking tank looking silly. This woman is getting booed. Booed. Shout out to James. Yeah, Howard Dean, like it. Bruh, this woman is getting booed at her rally. Who's gonna be crazy enough to be like, yeah, she's gonna get elected? Like, come on. Like, this is ridiculous at this point. This is ridiculous at this point. Like, this is a joke. This is a joke. You even got, bruh. This is ridiculous. At this point, it's ridiculous. It is utterly ridiculous at this point. But anyway, I've been on here long enough. I'm about to get up out of here, man, because I'm starting to get sleepy. Shout out to everybody that came through. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Make sure you go check out the book on Amazon. All you have to do is type The Angryman Standard in the search bar on Amazon. It will come up. It's available in hardcover and paperback. If you want to check out the merchandise, all you have to do is go to shop.BINONation.com. Again, that's shop.BINONation.com. Salute to everybody that came through. Like I said, man, y'all go and finish watching the Trump Joe Rogan interview, because I'm going to give more thoughts on it tomorrow, in addition to a few other things that we got to talk about. And don't forget, Kamala's getting ready to go do an interview in the morning with Shannon Sharp, another softball interview, because you know Shannon ain't gonna ask her no real questions. You know what I'm saying? He going you know what he gonna do. He gonna handle her with kid gloves or whatever, right? I knew she wasn't gonna go to Joe Rogan. But anyway, other than that, man, salute to everybody. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Shout out to everybody that hit the like button. Shout out to everybody that contributed to the show. I'm going to holler at you guys later. Deuces.
Spartans! What is your profession?